Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Flagburg Cardfight Vanguard Overdress deck profile for January 2022. I wanted to do the Flagburg deck as the next deck from the Set 3 Advance of Intertwined Stars booster set. This is kind of like the Aqua Force Maelstrom type of deck for the D format. It's a very, very interesting deck that focuses on the multiple attacks, but also additional effects for Flagburg Dragon, depending on how many attacks you've performed this turn. Very, very cool. If you're a fan of Aqua Force, this is definitely the deck for you. It has a lot of Aqua Force-like type cards in the deck, and I guess they could technically work with Aqua Force being part of Stoicheia and all together that feel. But once again, just for D format, definitely a deck to look into. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, our starter is Officer Cadet Chericles. It's just the when rode upon if you went second draw, but I would say very, very fitting for the Flagburg deck. Our grade 1 is In Read Shooter. When this unit is rode upon by Ascendant's Assault, you call this card to rearguard. So calling and having a bunch of rearguards is very, very vital for this deck. So you want to rely on these skills as much as you can. And on rearguard, we'll get to that because we do run multiples of this card along with the grade 2 Ascendant's Assault. You may reveal a Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon, or In-Road Shooter from your hand for this cost. When this unit is rode upon, you can Soul Blast one other than this card and call this card to rearguard. So as long as you have those other cards set up in your hand to use, you can call this card out to rear. It's very, very useful, just like the grade 1 setup, with our last card being the grade 3 Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon. It looks like a defeated Maelstrom to me, just like it's missing parts of its body. But with it being the main grade 3 of the deck, so we could Persona Ride, we are running 3 additional copies as well. On Vanguard Circle, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you counterblast 1 and perform all of the following according to the number of attacks you made this turn. If it's 3 or more, you draw a card. If it's 4 or more, your opponent chooses 2 rearguards and retires them. If it's 5 or more attacks until the end of that battle, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. And when your opponent would call cards from their hand to guard circle, they must call 3 or more at the same time. So it really is a waste for their Sentinel call with this card because they have to use that card along with 2 additional cards. So mostly your opponent's probably going to try and guard this with as many cards from their hand, but if you Persona Road, it's 33,000 on its own, not including the boost. So definitely a pressure against your opponent. So they'll definitely throw down just a bunch of different cards to guard against this card's 1 attack. And with it, you have pressure with all the other skills that this card will perform as well, including drawing, giving you hand consistency, but also being able to, take out your opponent's intercepts by retiring 2 of their rearguards. They do choose the cards, but if you get rid of resources consistently throughout the game, they'll just have less and less to call out. That is the only grade 3 we run in the deck. For the grade 2s, we do run 3 additional Ascendant's Assault with its rearguard skill once per turn when your other rearguard attacks a Vanguard. If your Vanguard is Flagship Dragon, Flagburg, you can counterblast 1 and stand this unit. It's definitely an easy way for you to gain the multiple attacks with this deck, having your 2 rearguard attacks and then just 2 additional rearguards to restand, and then having your Flagburg Dragon be the 5th battle of that turn, so it can gain all of its skills with that attack. With the additional grade 2s that we run in the deck being 4 of the Aggress Blue Dragon. On rearguard, at the end of the battle, this unit attack to rearguard. If your Vanguard is Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon, Soul Blast 1 and stand this unit. So it has to attack a rearguard, but still you're getting those multiple attacks off. So even after you restand this card, you can just have it attack the Vanguard then. Having the boosted unit not needed because you're going to attack a rearguard. Having this card have 10,000 power on its own, it can attack a good number of rearguards as long as they are grade 2s, being able to take out those intercepts, leaving it so your opponent has less cards to choose from for the retire 2, also for Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon. Some of the lower numbers we run for the grade 2, also just 2 additional Creed Assault. On rear, if your rearguard did not stand by a card effect this turn, this unit cannot attack, which is very, very easy since the majority of the other grade 2s that we run in the deck are meant to do so. And on rearguard, during the battle, this unit attacked to Vanguard, it gets plus 10,000 power. It's just an additional boost card and needed for just some additional power. With a Persona Ride, this card can attack for 30,000 power on its own, but I feel you only need the 2. I'd say Aggress Blue Dragon and also Ascendant's Assault are much, much better in the deck for your overall play style. This just adds a little more pressure for your grade 2 if need be. that is it for the grade 2 units. Moving on to the grade 1s, I run 3 additional inroad shooter. This is one of the rare decks where, along with the ride deck cards, you run additional numbers of those cards because they do add additional power. On rear guard for your inroad shooter, if your Vanguard is Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon, or Ascendance Assault, this unit gets intercept and plus 2,000 power. Having another unit with the intercept option means that even when you call this card out from the soul after your ride deck usage, you have a unit with intercept, since after you use this skill, your Vanguard will either be your Flagship Dragon or your Ascendance Assault, having an intercept unit right there ready to go with additional plus 2,000 power, meaning it can also hit a good number of rear guards and your opponent's Vanguard if they did go first. The additional grade 1s that we run in the deck, I am running 4 of the high rate Burst Dragon. When this unit is placed on rear guard, if your Vanguard is Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon, choose one of your other rear guards, and until the end of that turn, that unit gets on rear guard. When this unit attacks, if it is the first battle that turn, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, stand this unit. This can give immense power to additional cards you run in the deck that don't have the restand skill. So having this, it's definitely a 4 of, and you don't really use too many resources in this deck in the form of Soul Blasting or Counterblasting. You mostly, you have the Counterblast for Ascendance Assault and the Soul Blast for Aggressive Blue Dragon. Flagburg doesn't really use any Counterblast aside from the one it uses, so you have a good number to use with your High Burst Dragon with its Counterblast and Soul Blast, because then at least you have your guaranteed restand for one of your other units if it was the first attack that turn. For additional cards I run in the deck, I also run 3 of the Maiden of Deep Impression, or Jula, on rear guard. With it, you mostly use it for its second continuous skill. Your unit in the front row of this card cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. It's the best way to protect your cards from being retired by your opponent's cards, whether it be Aggressive Blue Dragon or your Ascendance Assault. You name it, you have all this protection in the form for your Urgella. And also I run the 2 of the Sylvanhorn Beast, Kusi. This is more for, this unit cannot be ridden and it can only be called by the back row. So this card is provided boost. I really do like it for that option. So it cannot be called to the back row, center rear guard, but you can provide boost for a bunch of your other rear guards that may attack afterwards, including your Aggress Dragon and Ascendance Assault once they restand, and then just have the multiple attacks to go for. Only run 2 though, I feel it's all you need. It's kind of limiting depending on how you play this card. But also I run the 2 prized Trident. This can get you some resources back when your other unit attacks. If it's the 5th battle of this turn, you put this unit into your soul and countercharge 1. So you have your resources to not only gain soul by putting this card into the soul, but also giving you a countercharge, because you do use those resources up. Even though they're only like counterblast 1s every so often, you will go through them pretty quickly when you get your multiple attacks. And then the last of the grade 1s we run are just the 4 Planar Prevent Dragon, being the Sentinel of choice for the deck, since it gives you the option to guard with it if it's the only card left in your hand, which you will go through a lot of resources in this deck for your hand very, very quickly, being able to save those resources to block other attacks. And then for the trigger lineup, I am running 7 criticals, 4 of the new Aspiring Maiden, Alana. Just the choice of putting into the soul, choosing a rear guard or a unit, and it gets plus 2,000 power. At the end of the battle that it boosted. And 3 of the Abyss Temptation, being kind of like an Aqua Force deck. I feel this critical is really, really fitting for the backup one. Same with the Frenzied Heiress. This just gives me more options for power. It doesn't go as well when you're restanding, but having the multiple attacks, you may want to run the draw trigger. I just have it in here as the additional guard option against my opponent as well, but providing that additional power early game also can get some great pressure. It's mostly in here for that additional guard, but if you want to run draw triggers, you can do that just to have more of a preservation of your hand in the deck, with also the rest of the triggers being 4 of the Heal, Elegy, Pixie. Once again, I would say most fitting for an ocean based type of deck. And lastly, the Over trigger, which is the Source Dragon Deity of Blessings, Bless Saver, having the heal option and then the additional power and critical. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Definitely an interesting deck. Like I said, if you're a fan of Aqua Force, this is definitely the deck to look into for D format. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.